In the news, Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to redesign 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira notes effective December 2022. South Korean electronics giant Samsung appoints convicted heir JAE-YONG to top job, and Rihanna to make music return with track for Black Panther this week. This is the MLC TV News Hour, reaching you live from the city of Lokoja, the Confluent State of Nigeria. I am Khadijat Mohammed. Good evening. Now the news in detail. The Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 17.4 billion naira for the provision of broadband infrastructure for micro, small and medium enterprises and tertiary and higher learning institutions across the 6 geopolitical zones, with the supply of IT communications equipment and furniture for communication centers in the nation's 6 geopolitical zones by the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. This is at its approved 3.992 billion naira for the augmentation of road projects in Kwara and Niger states. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, who briefed State House correspondents at the end of the council meeting, presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Presidential Villa Abuja on Wednesday, added that 660.422 million naira was also approved for the procurement of operational vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps. Speaking on the memorandum presented by different ministers, Mohammed said the first was a memo for the procurement of vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps, and that contract was in favor of Messrs. Innocent Manufacturing Company at the total sum of 660.42 million naira, and it is made up of 20 pickup vehicles and 1 city bus. And it is in the spirit of encouraging the local industries that the contract was awarded to Innocent Motors. The Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Issa Ali Pantami, presented a memo which was approved for the provision of broadband infrastructure for micro, small, medium enterprises and also tertiary and higher learning institutions across the 6 geopolitical zones. He said the administration is passionate about deepening the broadband infrastructure, and that contract was awarded to various companies for 16.7 billion naira. Pantami said there is another memo for the Minister of Communications seeking approval for the supply, installations and upgrades for a new set of IT communications equipment and furniture for emergency communication centers all over the country, and that was awarded for the sum of 668 million naira. The Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) has said it will redesign the 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira notes. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele disclosed this during a special press briefing in Abuja. The new design and issues will be effective from December 15, 2022. The action was taken in order to take control of the currency in circulation. According to the CBN boss, the Apex Bank, Emefiele stated, has secured the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari to roll out new notes to replace the existing currency in circulation. Once the new notes are designed, Nigerians are expected to take old notes to banks for the new notes. The CBN governor is also concerned about how Nigerian currency is being stored currently. According to him, the bulk of the nation's currency notes was outside bank vaults, and the CBN will not allow the situation to continue. Emefiele added, to be more specific, as of the end of September 2022, available data at the CBN indicates that 2.7 trillion naira out of the 3.3 trillion naira currency in circulation was outside the vault of commercial banks across the country and supposedly held by members of the public. According to him, the initiative by the CBN will help address some of the nation's security threats, especially kidnapping and terrorism. He believes that terrorists and kidnappers capitalize on the large excess of money to carry out their nefarious activities. KOGI State First Lady Rashida Bello has again visited IBAJI people that are sacked from their homes and farms by floods. The IBAJI people who are currently settled at a primary school in IDAH local government area got relief materials and financial support to ease their plight. Rashida was accompanied by the Commissioners for Environment, Women's Affairs and other top government officials. Our reporter, Faith Abdul-Ghaffar, has more.
The visit of Kogi State First Lady Rashida Bello continued. This time is the people of IBAJI in IDAH local government area, whose communities and farmlands have been submerged in water and became the worst affected local government in the state. Thousands of persons are presently homeless but take refuge in school premises across the IDAH local government area. First Lady's visit to the IDPs at the local government primary school in IDAH was described as answered prayers by the victims. The First Lady distributed foodstuffs, beverages and cash to hundreds of people. She promised to do more.
To show love and support to them because their security and welfare is utmost priority right now at a time like this. So that's why we are reaching out. As you can see, we've been moving from door to door to make sure we reach the people that are really in need.
Local government chairman and community leaders commended Governor Yahya Bello and his wife for the show of love.
We are not surprising His Excellency the First Lady of Kogi State here today, putting a smile on the faces of our people. He's taking the footstep of his husband. No doubt, our people have been suffering because of this disaster for over 3-4 weeks now. And to the glory of God, His Excellency has been doing all he can to ensure that their lives and their property is safe. And for the damages, we still believe that he will surely do something about that. But for the feeding and other things, he has been doing all his best to ensure that they are safe.
We thank Her Excellency for coming to IDAH local government today to see the 4 wards that was submerged by flood. May God promote our office more and more. As regard to my principal, His Excellency Adoza Bello, may God give him more wisdom to lead Kogi to the end of his tenure.
Beneficiaries also commended the government's efforts.
I have nothing to say than to say God will bless the federal government for assisting us during the flood. We have never seen something like this since the flood time. This is not the first time, but the one they did is the first in IBAJI local government. On behalf of IBAJI local government women, we say thank you to Her Excellency and may God bless her and more effort, more able. And we need more from her.
For this gesture from the state government, led by Her Excellency Mrs. Rashida Bello, we appreciate them for coming down from Lokoja down to St. Michael Primary School, IDAH, when IBAJI people stay almost about 1 month now. We appreciate Her Excellency and the entourage,
but called on the attention of the federal and the state government to better action to curtail the flood in the nearest future.
This flooding is yearly, is annually now. So we need federal government to intervene through dredging of River Niger and to build dam. Because we remember we saw that the Cameroon and Nigeria 1982 they have an agreement. So the Cameroon people have done their own, they have built their dam. So we are calling on the federal government to also build a dam in our River Benue so that you can get control as soon as the Cameroon people release their own, so that we can have something that we absorb it, so that we can have control, so that it will not be yearly again.
The Kogi State First Lady was accompanied by top government functionaries. Faith Abdul-Ghaffar reporting for MLC TV.
Affected flood victims and leaders of various local government areas have commended the state governor, Yahya Bello, and his wife, First Lady Rashida Bello. The people made the commendation when the First Lady took relief materials and cash to the IDPs where the affected flood persons stay at KOGI, Kotokarifi IDP camps. The leaders and beneficiaries commended the First Lady.
From the communities of Ozahi, the community of Ajara, the community of Kokerebe and Pakpazi. They are all here in this Ozi primary school as their camp. I want to say with all emphasis at my command that the people here and us, we are glad and grateful to Her Excellency, the wife of the Executive Governor, who has come with palliatives, gifts, to a kind of cushion the suffering of the people, having left their communities as a result of the flood. The flooding effect this year, in fact, it is devastating.
I want to appreciate Her Excellency, the First Lady of KOGI State, HEIR Bello, for her kind gesture in KOGI local government being affected by the flood victim. Respectively, the people that flood affected in my domain, KOGI local government, like the people of Ozahi community, the people of Ajara community, Opanda community, Kelebe community, Unwari community, and also Pakpazi community respectively. In fact, I am so impressed and I'm so happy for Her Excellency to come to our aid in this particular time.
It's the happiest day for this community. And by God Almighty, this kind gift that you brought to this town, I know the whole world will hear it. And our payback is to see that all APC candidates emerge as a winner in coming 2023.
They expressed their joy and worry about their future after the floods dry off.
We pray that federal government will remember us, because since 2012 we are suffering for this flood of 18. Like my side, I don't even have home. It take over my shop, my house, everything, even some of my properties, they loot it. So they should help us come to our needs, because we have suffered a lot.
Washida Bello has promised to continue to do her very best to make life better for them. She called on well-meaning Nigerians to provide for the needy, especially victims of the flood. The First Lady visited IDPs in Adankolo, Kabawa and Ganaja, all in local government area, among others. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has said the new and upgraded fire stations in the state will lead to a considerable reduction in losses associated with fire outbreaks. Sanwo-Olu said this on Wednesday during the inauguration of 3 fire stations at Ebute Elefun, Oniru and Ajegule on Lagos Island. He said they are convinced that the construction of new fire stations will allow quicker response to the scene of emergencies within their specific area of coverage, because proximity or nearness of fire stations to incident locations is very crucial to rescue and safety operations. With the new facilities, firemen will get to the theater of operations in record time. The Special Advisor to the Governor on Special Duties and Intergovernmental Relations, Mobolaji Ogunlede, said the government's concession for 6 fire stations, out of which 3 were inaugurated, and the upgrade of the existing fire stations in the state signifies a milestone in the journey to rebrand and reposition the state fire and rescue services. The Lagos State government has faulted the plan by the federal government through the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to sell or grant concession in respect of the Tafawa Balewa Square on Lagos Island. The State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Moyosare Onibanjo, disclosed this in a statement made available to journalists. He was responding to the report that the federal government planned sale or concession of the TBS among 25 assets to fund the 2023 budget deficit of 10.7 trillion naira. Onibanjo explained that the federal government sale or concession of the Tafawa Balewa Square cannot be valid due to a suit pending before the Supreme Court. It was stated that the attention of the Lagos state government has been drawn to the news report on the front page of the Punch newspaper of Saturday that the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, is planning to either sell or grants concession in respect of Tafawa Balewa Square situated in Lagos Island, Lagos State. We go on a short break. We will be right back.
Get human interest stories right here on MLC TV with entertainment, sports, business, culture, tourism, and fashion news stories all featured on MLC TV. Not forgetting political and current affairs news, state and federal government and people's matters will be discussed regularly on MLC TV. MLC TV, your one-stop online destination for unbiased, accurate news, entrepreneur ideas, and youth matters to the rest of the world. MLC TV, reaching everywhere, informing everyone.
Welcome back. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has confiscated 20 billion naira lodged in 103 bank accounts belonging to legal socialite and businessman Malinsin Okatu, who is being held in Ikoyi Custodial Center for drug dealing. The NDLEA has also filed 23 count charges against the socialite and his 6 companies: Food Tropics Industry Limited, Malinsin and Partners Limited, Nispo Porcelain Company Limited, MBL Motorlink Services Limited, Nispo Oil and Gas Limited, and Urban Space Services Limited before the Federal High Court, Abuja. The charges signed by the Director, Prosecution and Legal Services, J. Sunday, J. Obi, Bridget Viasima, J. Anan, and the Prosecuting Counsel, Mike Kassa, on behalf of the Attorney General of the Federation. The drug agency had earlier obtained an interim seizure of 25 properties belonging to Okatu, who was arrested for allegedly importing tramadol valued at 3 billion naira into the country. The billionaire was said to have used Food Tropics Industries Limited, United Bank of Africa account to illegally convert 123.8 million naira, which is deemed to be proceeds of an unlawful act, contrary to Section 15, subsection 2b, and punishable under Section 15, subsection 3 and 4 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011, as amended. The drug agency further accused the businessman of using Multilink Service Limited, Access Bank account to convert 52.4 million naira between January 2017 and October 2021. He also used Access Bank PLC's account, operated by Malinsin and Partners, to convert 7.201 billion naira, contrary to the money laundering laws. The federal government also complained that the first defendant laundered $643 million using Access Bank accounts belonging to Malinsin and Partners Limited. On foreign news, days after it issued a terrorist attack alert in Nigeria, the United States government has notified its citizens that insurgents are planning an attack on large gatherings in Johannesburg, South Africa. The U.S. government has received information that terrorists may be planning to conduct an attack targeting large gatherings of people at an unspecified location in the Greater Sandton area of Johannesburg, South Africa, on 29 October 2022. There is no further information regarding the timing, method, or target of the potential attack. The U.S. Embassy has advised staff to avoid crowds of people and other large public gatherings in the Greater Sandton area of Johannesburg during the weekend of 29 to 30 October 2022. The alert on the embassy's website read, "Meanwhile, South Africa has appeared to downplay a warning by the U.S. Embassy of a possible threat of a terrorist attack over the weekend in the commercial hub, Johannesburg. In response, the South African presidency noted the U.S. terror alert was part of the U.S. government's standard communication to its citizens. The presidency said it was the responsibility of the South African security forces to ensure security and safety for all people in the country. It said law enforcement agencies were monitoring any threat to the citizens and the nation. A minister in the presidency was quoted by local media on Wednesday as saying that the alarm has been going on, but up to this point, it is not backed up by any evidence. South Korean electronics giant Samsung has named convicted heir and de facto boss Lee Jae-Young as its executive chairman. The symbolic move means the world's biggest smartphone maker will now be officially run by the third generation of its founding family. Lee, who was convicted of bribery and embezzlement in 2017, was granted a special presidential pardon in August. He was imprisoned twice for bribing a former president. The company said in a statement that the board cited the current uncertain global business environment and the pressing need for stronger accountability and business stability in approving the recommendation. The announcement formalizes the role Lee, who is also known as JY Lee, has held since 2014. He took over after his father, the late Samsung Group chairman Lee Kun-hee, was hospitalized. He died in 2020. The 54-year-old has been vice president of Samsung Electronics, the crown jewel of South Korea's biggest business conglomerate, since 2012. The announcement came as Samsung Electronics faces mounting problems as demand for its products fall due to soaring inflation, rising interest rates, and a gloomy economic outlook. On Thursday, the world's top maker of memory chips and smartphones reported a 31% drop in its third quarter profit. It also warned that uncertainties around the world are likely to dampen demand until early next year as the global economic downturn hits the market for electronic devices. On sports, Leicester City midfielder Wilfred Ndidi is back in training at the club's Seagrave training ground ahead of this weekend's Premier League clash against champions Manchester City. A hamstring issue has sidelined the 25-year-old Ndidi for the majority of October, with manager Brendan Rodgers admitting after last weekend's win against Wolverhampton Wanderers that they did not want to take the risk of involving the returning midfielder at Molineux. This comes as a timely boost for the Eagles, who will face Costa Rica and Portugal in friendlies next month. Also on entertainment, representative of megastar Rihanna said after launching high fashion collections, a lingerie line, a makeup brand, becoming a billionaire, and having a baby, megastar Rihanna is making a highly anticipated return to music this week. After 6 years without releasing a new solo song, the 34-year-old on Friday will drop a new single entitled Lift Me Up, which will be on the soundtrack for the Marvel sequel Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. It is her first solo single since 2016's Love on the Brain. Rihanna is releasing the new song on her Westbury Road label in conjunction with Rock Nation, Def Jam Recordings and Hollywood Records. The singer behind the hits Diamond and Umbrella posted a brief preview of the new track, which featured humming over strings. The news comes only weeks after the NFL announced Rihanna will be headlining the coveted Super Bowl halftime show in February, a long-awaited return to the stage for the pop phenom. The Barbadian-born artist has focused on other ventures, including becoming the first black woman to head a fashion house for the French powerhouse LVMH, which owns legacy brands including Fendi and Givenchy. She welcomed her first child with rapper A$AP Rocky in May 13, 2022. Footwear company Skechers USA said its executives escorted Kanye West out of a Los Angeles corporate office after the rapper and fashion designer showed up unannounced and uninvited. According to TMZ, Kanye West showed up at Skechers headquarters in Manhattan Beach to talk with the company's executives in order to find a new spot for his Yeezy shoes, but immediately got turned away. After a brief discussion, West was escorted off the corporate office's premises, according to Skechers. Skechers is owned and operated by a Jewish family, Robert Greenberg, founded it, and his son, Michael, who is currently the president. Skechers' comments come a day after sportswear brand Adidas ended its partnership with West, following a series of anti-Semitic comments from Kanye. Clothing company Gap Incorporated, which terminated its deal with West in September, is also taking immediate steps to remove Yeezy Gap products from its store and shut down EasyGap.com. Popular Nigerian activist Ariodare Atoye, a civil rights campaigner and prominent election reform activist, is dead. He passed on in Abuja on Thursday afternoon after a protracted battle with lung cancer, his friends said from the hospital. He was 42. Mr. Atoye, a trained news reporter who spent years covering national affairs for the News Agency of Nigeria, joined civil rights activism in the late aughts. After a brief foray into politics under the PDP administration of Goodluck Jonathan, he returned to activism and co-founded the Center for Civil Liberty, which he monitored out of Abuja. Under the center and in partnership with several other civil rights groups and activists that included Deji Adeyanju and Omoyele Sowore, Mr. Atoye sought stringent accountability from the Buhari regime, which quickly became a worrisome authority for many rights activists in Nigeria and beyond, following its inauguration in May 2015. Over the past half-decade, Atoye has led a campaign for electoral reform in Nigeria, and his contributions to the recent changes to electoral guidelines by the Nigerian parliament were widely acknowledged. After weeks of silence as he battled the ruthless disease that was spreading rapidly through his body, Atoye posted a message on Twitter acknowledging support from friends and family while asking everyone to keep hope alive. He said, "I have done nothing to deserve all the prayers, calls, goodwill, generous donations, financial support, efforts, love and affection." Anthony Ehilebo, who was friends with Atoye for years, lamented his passing as a major loss to Nigerian civil society and political reform efforts. He was very passionate about Nigeria and struggled consistently to ensure sustainable changes to the election and public service accountability. Ehilebo, a member of the opposition PDP, said, "Additional details about his death have not been released by his doctors, but the development came as plans were being made by his friends to transport him to London for additional treatment. He was survived by his wife and children." And that is the size of our package today. Join us tomorrow at the same hour to watch our news as we give you updates on happenings within and across the globe. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, MLC TV. Like and follow our Facebook page, MLC TV, Instagram, MLC TV 2021, Twitter at MLC TV1. For your event coverage, information, contribution, advert and sponsorship, please call any of our numbers displayed on your screen. Join us Friday and Saturday to watch our special programs. It's MLC TV, reaching everywhere, informing everyone. I am Khadijat Mohammed. Please continue to be your brother's keeper to build a united and peaceful society together. Thank you for watching.